Welcome back to another episode of the Decision Ease podcast. I'm Kirsten, and I know, the year just started. Oh my gosh, Kirsten, do we really have to talk about regret? Well, I'm just still drinking my peppermint mochas. Can we just? So let me preface this week's episode by saying, if this is not what you need to hear today, absolutely go into the archives and find something more on point for where you are. I also think that just applies to everything in everyday life. If the thing being put in front of you is not what you need, highly recommend exercising your autonomy and agency and choosing something different. The reason I put this so early on in the year's lineup of episodes is we can feel heavy this time of year. We can feel momentum. We can feel energetic and light. And oh my gosh, let's go 2026. And we can also feel very tired. Because, what? 2025? What? And I don't want you to have to recover from whatever 2025 might have been for you for an entire third of 2026. So I really wanted to specifically speak to what role regret can play in our lives and how you can actually hold regret and have regrets and experience the human experience of regret without letting it hold you back, without feeling held back because you are a human experiencing the human experience of regret. Okay, so today we're going to talk about 3 very important keys to holding regret without it holding you back. Before we get into the nitty-gritty, I really want to validate this is a very personal conversation that we're having in a very impersonal way here. Okay, so first of all, grain of salt everything. I'm going to try to speak in as universal concepts as possible here, but know that, of course, unique situations can benefit from unique perspective. So I want to make sure you know I am available to help you work through things like regret and self-judgment and self-compassion and making choices differently, even if you have regret and you're afraid you're going to experience the same failures or mistakes or same self-blame. I am available to help you through all of that on a more individual level than the podcast, if that's what you need. So FYI, the Decision Ease program is open right now for its lowest rate ever. If you're listening real time January 2026, you only have a couple weeks left, but you have a couple weeks left to lock in this price for the program. And it's where you get the Decision Ease framework over 8 weeks. So we give bite-sized lessons so you can practice one thing at a time. And that's how we solidify habit change over time. And regret really shows up in a lot of the elements of the framework. And particularly, week 8 is all about the post-decision phase. How do you have confidence even though things play out maybe not the way you wanted? What do we do with regret? So if you want all the details, you can go to kirstenparker.com/program. Go grab it if you want just a shortcut, updating your relationship with regret. For better or worse, you have a default relationship with it, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It just means it hasn't been intentionally nourished. You might have had to update your relationship with money or time or your body, right? These are things that we understand. Oh, maybe I have to change my relationship with that thing now that I'm in this phase of my life because it's not working for me the way it used to, or it wasn't a problem before, but now it's really a problem. This is something that I really want to help you do. So we'll start with this episode and just know you can fast track it and really spend the rest of your entire life not having a dysfunctional relationship with regret. And boy, do I appreciate my past self for being willing to do that. And I hear this all the time from clients too. I hear them working their way through consequences of decisions, having a really strong awareness of I'm feeling regretful about something I did or something that happened. But I also can palpably tell that I am not abandoning myself and judging myself as a wrong person who should have absolutely done something differently, and this is all my fault. And that's powerful. So go to kirstenparker.com/program if you're interested, and the price goes up on January 26th. All right, let's get into the meat of today's conversation. There are 3 keys we're going to explore today to holding regret without it holding you back. Number 1 is accepting that it will happen. You might have noticed already in the first minutes here, I have said the phrase, the human experience of experiencing regret, I don't know, maybe 16 times already. First and foremost, you have to stop making regret mean you failed. You have to stop making the experience of regret happening at all, mean something is happening that shouldn't be happening. Being human means taking risks. Just waking up and getting out of bed in the morning, you're taking a bunch of risks. So accepting this from the get-go, that you feeling regret, thinking regretful thoughts, experiencing the sensation of regret, doesn't necessarily mean anything is happening incorrectly, will make a huge difference. This key is rooted in the idea that being a person, humaning, as I often call it, involves suffering. It means we're not going to presuppose that we should always feel good. And anytime we don't feel good, it's an indication that we have done something wrong, that life has gone off course. And we are now missing out on some version of life or version of ourselves that we should have had access to, that we should have been experiencing. This is part of the deal that we sign up for by waking up and getting out of bed in the morning. It's kind of like signing a contract with yourself of, okay, going forward, here's what my understanding and my stance on regret is going to be. Things are not going to always go how I want. And I will even do some things that, in hindsight, I will wish I hadn't done. This agreement with yourself, this acceptance, can save so much judgment and shame. And that just means you're saving yourself so much work in the future of having to get back to yourself, right? Okay, the second key to holding regret without it holding you back is separating out the thoughts and feelings you are experiencing. Experiencing regret can often feel like Rachel's trifle from that infamous Thanksgiving episode where there is a layer of ladyfingers and a layer of custard, which she made from scratch, a layer of jam, a layer of beef sauteed with peas and onions, another layer of whipped cream. It can feel like a lot and not good. So heavy, so many layers, so icky. People tend to feel what feels like regret and jump immediately to judging and shaming themselves, or jump immediately into anger. Anger at themselves, anger at a situation, but they skip over identifying what they are actually thinking and feeling. They just take a giant scoop of the entire trifle, all the layers, beef and onions and all, and they are not happy. So when I say separate out the thoughts and feelings that you're experiencing, what I tell clients to do is say it in words. Actually express the thoughts you are thinking in complete sentences. Actually describe the individual emotions you're feeling in one-word adjectives. This is going to create some objective awareness. A lot of the time when I'm talking with clients about describing their thoughts and feelings, they think they can't do it while they are still in the thoughts and feelings. And I want to tell you, you are capable of doing this. You can. It might feel weird. It might feel hard at first, but you can do it and you can get better at it. This is objective awareness. It's the ability to have a thought and feel a feeling, and at the same time, consciously know you are thinking that thought. You are feeling that feeling. And what this ends up sounding like a lot of the time are realizing you have thoughts like, I hate that this happened. I hate this happened this way. I am really upset. I decided that, and now this is what we're dealing with. I wish I had done something differently. When you can take a little bit of the charge out of those thoughts that are probably all swirling in your head at this moment of regret, you don't have to be completely emotionless about them. But when you can take some charge out of them, you can know what you're dealing with. When you can label some emotions, like, yeah, I'm feeling super activated right now. I'm feeling really, really spicy. Okay, that's a fine starting point. But what adjectives would you use to describe your emotions? Disappointed, sad, frustrated, disheartened. You can be feeling these very different individual emotions that are really important for you to know what you're dealing with. What you're doing is creating a healthy distance between yourself and your emotions and your thoughts. which can help you not over-identify with them. When you over-identify with negative thoughts and feelings, they become crippling. They become so heavy and burdensome. You begin to be unable to see yourself as a person capable of thinking anything different or experiencing any different emotions. They become so wrapped up in who you are in this moment. And the job of getting over this thing you're upset about, or seeing a different path forward, or just being in a better place feels so far away. When you create this healthy distance, which is not to say you stop feeling the emotions. I want to be really clear. Identifying an emotion doesn't mean, oh, okay, I checked the box. I stopped feeling it anymore now that I named it. I win. You're not going to stop feeling the emotions. And that's not the point, too. The point of this part of the process here is not to fix your bad feelings, okay? It's to keep you from over-identifying with them. When you have this healthy distance, you can process them alongside compassion for yourself. This is something I talk about all the time. If you've been a longtime listener, you have heard me bring self-compassion up as a necessary skill, and you better believe that it is a skill we discuss and you get better at inside the Decision Ease program. If you have compassion for yourself experiencing a crappy emotion, if you have compassion for yourself experiencing the thought that you don't like what happened or you don't like what you did, you don't make yourself the bad guy in your own story. You can experience the human experience of regret without going so far as to make it your fault that you feel bad and therefore you need punishing. And you need to make sure that you know you're wrong and you feel wrong for it. A habit I help so many of my clients undo and change over time is the habit of taking too much responsibility, making yourself over-responsible for just everything. Any bad feeling you have, any speed bump anyone around you ever experiences, let alone any legitimate hardship that anybody goes through. There can be a habit of making yourself overly responsible. So when you go into a regret experience, you go immediately to self-blame and self-punishment. And what you're doing when you do that is you are not letting yourself accept and process the fact that you hate that this thing happened, that you're upset about somebody else's suffering, that you are disheartened about what's going to happen next, that you're disappointed in yourself, in someone else, in a situation. As I work with clients on updating their relationship with regret, they get really good at making more space in their life to accept and process the fact that they don't like what's happening. But that ends up with them spending less energy focused on the fact that they don't like what has happened or what is happening. The problem of making yourself responsible for everything and making regret equal, I need to feel bad now forever, is you keep yourself stuck in that focus on what you don't like and what you haven't processed and what you haven't maybe accepted. And there's a difference. There's a difference between processing things and being honest with yourself about how you feel and what you think, and committing yourself to being stuck in those thoughts and feelings. And this leads us nicely into the third key to holding regret without it holding you back, because that's what are you going to do next? The third key is deciding what you want to do next, other than beat yourself up. I want you to just consider that going forward, in your updated relationship with regret, you might not need the part of the process where you beat yourself up. What if that's not required? I am not saying don't feel bad for mistakes you make. I'm not saying don't care if the things you do cause yourself to hurt, other people to hurt. I'm not saying let yourself off the hook because it doesn't feel good to feel bad. Obviously, the premise of today's episode is that we are gonna feel bad either way. It's part of the deal, right? We're gonna feel bad sometimes. It's how you plan on experiencing it that makes all the difference. So if we can put into the plan now, all right, I'm going to regret things. And all right, I can give myself a grace period for being a human person experiencing hard emotions, and I don't have to do it perfectly. But what I'm not going to do, even if I need to spend a day just feeling crappy and not jumping immediately into action. For many people, that's going to be the healthiest response because you're not going to kick into overfunctioning high gear and emotion bypassing and a lot of things that are a separate episode. I want you to put into the plan, though, when we regret things, because we will, when we either feel the emotion of regret, think the thought, I regret that this happened, I regret that I did that, I regret this decision, you're going to move on to the part of the process where you decide what to do. There's going to be action that you take. This does not have to mean jumping right into immediate repair and trying to undo things you regret. The action my clients sometimes find themselves needing to take is digging into their own thought process, exploring the past circumstances that led to the decision they do now regret. This is, again, one of those ways we access self-compassion, because we can regret that we made a choice at the same time that we can completely understand why we made the choice. And then you can't see me right now, but then you're holding things with both hands. You're holding two truths at one time. I can absolutely regret that I decided this and wish I'd done something differently. And I can absolutely understand the circumstances and thoughts and feelings that led to me making the decision I did. And now what do I want to do? Now what action do I want to take? Just sitting down on the ground and beating myself up for the next 10 years isn't an option. It's not going to undo anything. It's not going to fix anything. It's not going to change anything. So what are we going to do? It can be helpful to remember that emotions show up to give us information. Sometimes it's information about our existing habits. Like, hey, FYI, you regret something right now because you're used to making stuff your fault, right? This is what we were just talking about in the last key. Sometimes the emotion of regret is going to come up to let you know, hey, you always make it your fault when your child or parent or friend feels bad about something, when they go through a hard time. You go immediately to this regret place because you're always looking for what you did to make it your fault. That's a habit you have. And maybe you want to do something different with that information now. Sometimes the emotion is showing up to give us information about how we genuinely feel. Hey, you're disappointed that happened, and you're really frustrated that you have to deal with this situation right now. Maybe that's what regret is showing up to tell you. Sometimes it's information about what you want to do differently in the future. I want to leave you with this permission that you do not always have to look for some life-changing lesson in regret. All right? Even if you find one, sometimes the most realistic thing you can do at the beginning stage of experiencing regret is just accept that something happened and you don't like it. But in order to not linger on it and be weighed down by it and keep yourself replaying painful emotions and painful thoughts and keep blaming yourself and keep yourself in punishment, you can help yourself forward by asking, what do I want to do next? And if it's just, I want to feel my feelings for a second, take a day, take a week, do what you got to do. But make sure you're asking for help, that you're involving your support network, that you're doing that healthy distancing, because we don't want you identifying so heavily and so privately with these painful emotions that you lose 3 months to quote unquote processing. So take some time, but decide it doesn't have to take forever. And if you want to name a lesson that you're taking away from regret showing up in your life, absolutely do it. But use complete sentences. Do not accept the sentences, I always fail. I never get anything right. I will always screw this up. Those are not acceptable. Thank you for your efforts. Please try again. You really want to know you're closing the loop on this experience. This is one of those parts of the conversation that we're speaking in generalities here, and I don't mean that to come across as this should be effortless for you, and if it feels hard for you to close the loop on something you regret, you're doing it wrong. Oh, my dog's mad about something. But you do want to know, in this updated relationship I have with regret, in the new way I'm deciding on purpose that regret fits in my life, I take a step to close the loop on an experience so it doesn't just hang out there in the abyss as this unfinished thought and this unprocessed emotion all day, every day. So I hope this helps. If you feel a little from 2025, or if it's just time for you to update your relationship with this very human thing that will happen again, whether you like it or not. I'm going to remind you that I'm here to help. This is big habit change we are talking about here. So it is absolutely normal and valid to need guidance, to need accountability, to employ these tactics and experience these regret emotions and regret thoughts differently. It's really hard to keep that follow through and keep these ideas in mind as you're going through the human experience. So utilize help if you want to make these changes last. All the ways we can work together are at kirstenparker.com. And specifically, if you want to get into the Decision Ease program before the price goes up, go to kirstenparker.com/program. You've got this. I hope you're having a fabulous 2026 already. I can't wait to talk to you again soon. Bye. Hey, want to find out your decision style? Obviously, go take the decision style quiz. It's in the show notes and at kirstenparker.com/quiz. We all have our style when it comes to making decisions, but do you know how to use your default way of thinking to your advantage? Or do you mainly get stuck in the most annoying parts of overthinking and people pleasing? The decision style quiz has your answers, my friend. Take it right now at kirstenparker.com/quiz.